everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the 4-Star Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan DuPont, joined by Nick DeCola, Teige Mullen, and Andrew Freeman. You can find the podcast itself on X, because it's actually
Twitter. Just call it Twitter.
at 4-Star Pod CHI. Nick is at NDecola21, Teige is at TM Mullen 007, and Andrew is at AJ Freeman 25. Also, feel free to check out 4starpodchi.com, where we will have links to our podcast episodes, the YouTube videos, and blog posts when we finally get around to writing them. With all that being said, I think we can start off once again, as has become the norm lately, with, I think we only got, technically one more week, but officially 3 more weeks of not having football. So we'll start off with the Cubs here, who have been on a tear of late. We just wrapped up a 4-game set against the Reds and a 3-game set against the Braves. We won both of them. Took 3 out of 4 against the Reds, which was really, really great. Had a nice offensive explosion there. And took 2 out of 3 against the Braves, who are the best team record-wise in the National League. So if you guys want to start digging in a little bit and digesting that, I will turn the floor over to you. Anybody? Bueller?
That was good. I don't know. They're good. They're looking good. I don't know, man. I think with the the Reds series was obviously, like, I was worried about both series going in.
Same.
And I think that it's really good seeing us. Obviously, it's good seeing us win it, but just especially to see us win the Braves series, that was like, maybe we're not going to be the best team by the end of the year, but still, like, that was just to show, like, hey, we're here and ready to play anybody, and it doesn't matter who. So we didn't do too hot against the Mets today. They're in a rain delay, but I don't know. This team's exciting to watch.
I wouldn't say we didn't do so great against the Mets today. I'm sure we'll get a little more in-depth on this next week, but it was Kodai Senga on the mound, who was a great pitcher.
Which means we didn't do great against them.
We scored 2 runs, and we're going into the 7th right now, I believe, if they get the game started up again. But really the problem was Pete Alonso. Drew Smyly hung a couple of pitches right in the zone, and Drew Smyly literally has gotten all but one of the Mets runs today.
No, Pete Alonso got 5, and they're up 7-2 right now.
Oh, okay, is the game back?
No, I think they went into 7-2.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah.
I know Smyly loaded up the bases before exiting the game.
Yeah, so, and then he gave up 2 more runs, and Ross is just riding it because our bullpen's taxed, so he just has to eat innings, unfortunately.
Yeah, which, we're in the middle of a 16-game stretch without a day off, so understandable. Everything's going to start getting worn down. But with that being said, we were in the middle of a 16-game stretch, and we just beat the Reds, who were, before we got hot, the hottest team in baseball, and the Braves, who are arguably the hottest team in baseball, and the Braves, who again are the best team in the National League, and managed to still have some great come from behind wins and make ourselves look like a real baseball team.
And I think it's important to point out that in these last 2 series, these 2 really important series, we've talked about it this year. This team, for whatever reason, was not able to win on a Sunday, was not able to win on Getaway Day, the last game of the series, and they won both of those games. I was actually at the game against the Reds on Thursday, which was the last game of the series. Who pitched that day? Tyone pitched that day. First pitch, he gave up a home run to Ellie De La Cruz that landed about 15 feet from away from me in the bleachers. I was like,
I was going to say, I thought I actually saw you guys on TV, but I wasn't.
Really?
I wasn't sure.
I think we did. My mom claims she saw us at like the very end of the game singing "Go Cubs Go." I tried looking for it. I didn't see it. Whatever. Not important. Anyway, I'm not important.
You're important to me. Oh, look at that. See, you're loved. You're cared for.
I guess
I don't want to hear that.
You tell we've been friends for 20 years at this point.
I guess so. Anyway, home run ball landed about 15 feet from me. I'm just like, oh my God, here we go again. But that was really it. He settled down after that. They got a win. Yeah. And then yesterday against the Braves to win the series. You really hope they can keep it up.
Yeah, we're one step closer to Teige Mullen getting a Jameson Tyone jersey. Like I said, this is the season below 4 years. Hey, I'm rooting for it at this point.
Like I said, in one of the group chats, I did the math and I sent it to Teige because I know he's watching it. Basically, Tyone has to pitch better than like Jake Arrieta in 2015 the rest of the way for Teige to have to buy his jersey, which I mean, he'll have earned it if
Yeah.
he does that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm
rooting
that
for it, man.
whatever that royalty
He needs-
is on a $110 jersey.
He needs like a 1.7 ERA the rest of the way or something like that.
I think it was less than. I think it was like 1.1.
I think he said 1.5 or something like that, didn't you? Or I can't remember.
Oh wait, no, I think Jake had a 1.73 ERA.
He did.
Then,
by the end of the year,
and then in that year, over the year, and then Anyway,
but no, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for the guy, and he goes tomorrow, so we'll see.
This has been a really fun team to watch, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the 8-6 win, the middle game in the Braves series, that was another come from behind win, wasn't it? I thought we were down. It seems like our pitching gives up a home run in the first inning or two every single game, and then we wind up just storming back and running away with it.
That's what a good team does, man. You never feel out of it. But hey, apart from that, I think we can talk about briefly, because honestly, the Cubs, it's like we can actually be kind of quick today. Like, we know what they did at the trade deadline, but they got Candelario. He's been awesome since we got him. But also that comes with Trey Mancini DFA'd, couldn't have come soon enough. I love Trey Mancini. Yeah, I love his story. I know Tucker gotta go, but I love Trey. I love anytime an athlete fights off a illness like cancer and they come back. That's awesome. He's a World Series champ. Best luck to him. He's just old. It's time to move on. But also Seiya Suzuki is benched now. He hasn't started in a few days. I think he's also been dealing with some nagging injury personally, but he's been benched because Talkman's just been playing great at right field, Bellinger in center, Candelario at first. And, finally this team is putting out their best 9, and that's the important thing. I would like to see Amayo play a bit more still, because
we can't have
on the
everything
roster. We can't have everything we want, Jed.
Yeah.
But like finally, it's like we're putting our best 9 out there. Let's go win some ball games. Let's win the division, man. We can do it.
So only a game and a half back. I think Nick, I think you shared in our group chat earlier. What was the FanGraphs odds, or was that not you?
I don't think it was me, but I know at one point it was like, I think after they got swept by the Angels, right?
Yes, they did.
I don't know. This all bleeds.
They were like
together.
26 and 36.
It was like Cubs had like a 6% shot at the postseason. Now it's over 50.
Yeah,
I think it was up to 77 according to FanGraphs.
It depends on who you look at.
Depends on who you look at.
Some models.
That's why I said FanGraphs.
Yeah, some models say like 56, 54%, which is still, from 6 to that is better. And like I said, we're competitive for a division now. We're in the wild card spot as of now. Still.
Yes. Yeah, we are tied with Cincinnati for the last wild card spot, but we hold the tiebreaker currently, and we're a game and a half back of the division. Again, that all is going to change based upon what winds up happening the rest of the way if they get the game restarted today. I know
they could call it. They could take. Yeah, Padres.
Yeah, and I know they're past
I
halfway.
watched
They're
that
probably
game.
just going to wind up calling it. But.
Yeah, I watched the Padres game today. That was oof.
One other crazy stat I want to share, and I typed this into our podcast group chat because I wanted to make sure I had it ready to go today. They flashed a little graphic for batting average, OBP, and slugging for the team as a whole today against right-handed pitching since the All-Star break. And so I had to do a little bit of math, which, I'm never really a math guy and went to automotive school for college, but still can do addition. And the team has, again, as a whole, not just one guy, the team as a whole against right-handed pitching has a 968 OPS since the All-Star break. MLB average is like 720. And as a team, our OPS is 968. It's nuts. We have been crushing right-handed pitching, which is really, really good to see.
And a big part of that has to be too, who's been on a fucking tear for
that's our one F-bomb.
Got that out of the way.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, you wasted it.
We're 10 minutes into this show. You used our one F-bomb. And it wasn't even
of course, so Andrew, I'm sorry, but you are kind of going in and out with your internet again. And of course, like one of the 5 words that actually came through
was the F-bomb. Yeah.
Well, what's new? But I saw this today, and I think so earlier today that like over the last 19 games, Bellinger's had like 19 or something like that.
I think you're gonna have to reset your internet, buddy.
Yeah,
But
I
yes, Bellinger has been
didn't-
on a tear.
I didn't catch a lot of that,
I
but
think he said 19 RBIs.
He said,
think he
no,
said
I heard
something
19
like-
games.
I think he
Yeah,
said
yeah.
Cody Bellinger was doing really good.
Yes.
That's all I got.
And Bellinger had another 3-hit day today before they went to
Did they rule
late.
that first inning a hit? Or was it an
Initially,
error?
Yeah.
Okay.
Initially,
got it.
it's been hit. I don't know if they've gone back and revised it, but as of when I heard last,
the
it was
one
a
against
3-hit day.
the one against the Braves with
No, today.
No, first inning today.
Oh,
it was
today.
questionable. He hit a kind of soft ground ball to second. Guy backhanded it, went under his glove. So I wasn't
Like
sure
I
if it was
said,
gonna be an error.
I mentioned this in another one of our chats, and we can move on because the Cubs, like I said, we kind of talked about it. But for those of you that are big baseball people, there's a theory that MLB told the scorers to score anything possibly a hit to try to bump up the batting average to prove the point that the shift banning was good. So that could just be a manufactured hit that the MLB is like, yep, hit, file it away. So I don't know. So if you're seeing a lot more like errors be hits now, that's probably why. Just cool.
I feel like there's been a lot of those this year where I was like, what? That was clearly an error. Why did you rule that a hit? I've seen that so many times this season.
Yeah, so my guess is the MLB just told them to err on the side of hits now.
Yeah, and they're not just doing it with everybody, not just Nolan Arenado, like they usually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, is my connection good now, guys?
You sound great now.
You sound great now.
Great.
For now.
We'll
For
see.
now.
Wait 5 minutes. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll revisit the issue here. Well, we can move on from the Cubs. Again, short version is they're doing great. We're loving what we're seeing. As mentioned, they are currently in New York against the Mets. The game's in a rain delay right now. They're down 7-2. Going to finish up the series against the Mets on Wednesday, off day Thursday, and then we travel to Toronto for a series against the Blue Jays. Moving right along here, we'll switch over to some football. Again, we got our first preseason game next week. I think so it's 3 weeks or a month before the official NFL season starts with a game against the Packers. But we'll check back in with Andrew for a quick training camp report here. And Andrew, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, first preseason game against the Titans is on this Saturday, the 12th, I think that is. So pretty exciting. They just had their family fest on Sunday. It was a pretty miserable day from what it sounds like there in Chicago at Old Soldier Field. So that's always fun. But yeah, so for those who've been following me on Twitter, I've been at a couple of the training camp practices. I was there for Tuesday and Wednesday. That was the first 2 days of pads. So a lot more hitting, a lot more physicality those 2 days. And it's, training camp practices are weird because a lot of it's tough to tell like exactly how these guys are doing sometimes because they're not going quite 100%. There's no tackling going on. It's just a lot of it's a practice, right? So they're not quite going 100% that they would be going in a game. But there are some takeaways that I got from 2 days that I was there. First of all, I watched a lot of the offensive line and defensive line play, and specifically a couple of rookies that stood out to me. Javon Dexter. For one, this guy's gigantic out there on the football field. But I said it last week, I think, but it has to be said again. Like, this guy he's a massive human being. Just being there up close, watching him practice is it's insane. But he's looked pretty solid over the couple days that I was there. You can see the athleticism on the field, and he was getting for quite a bit in team drills where they put him with the first team a couple of times on Wednesday, and he was consistently in the backfield. It felt like. Now, some of that is the offensive line doesn't look very good again, which is going to be another topic I can touch on in a little bit here. But so far, Dexter, he's really impressed me, which is saying a lot because I was not a fan of it when it was made at the time.
I was going to say, I was definitely 100% about to call you out on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we could go back to our draft recap.
I'd be more than happy to eat crow if he's on.
Oh, Andrew, I remember one of the reasons you weren't a big fan of the pick, and one of the reasons he fell in the draft was because it seemed like at Florida, he went to Florida, correct?
Yep, Florida.
Yep, at Florida, he seemed consistently late reacting to the snap. Now, I think it came out afterwards that that's just the way they coach it at Florida, the way they wanted him to kind of read and react and then, do what he was supposed to do. Did you notice anything about, his reaction and timing the snap, or was he still like a little bit late? Obviously, he's still a rookie. He's got
because the reports say he's still late. Like,
that's
still late.
That's something that came out from Eberflus on Sunday. He mentioned that Dexter is still like working on consistency there. It's actually funny. They were working on get off drills on Tuesday's practice, I think it was. I got to see him up close specifically, and it was actually funny. They were working on that, and Dexter was actually early on a couple of them. He got called offsides, got caught offsides on a couple of them because he was overcorrecting, I guess you could say. But yeah, there are definitely instances where he's late, and you tell when he's late because he gets his butt kicked on like double teams and that's what happens, right? That was his thing at Florida. He would be late off the snap, and then he would stand straight up, and then if you're coming with a double team against him, he's going to get pushed like 3-4 yards down. It just opens up a massive gap. Now he's just freakishly so strong, naturally strong, that he can like make up for that a lot of the times. But in the NFL, it's obviously a lot harder. So it's looked a bit better, I'd say. In fact, I'd say it looks significantly better. But he's still usually the last one off the line. So either they're coaching it out of him, and it's just going to take a little bit of time before we see that really come to fruition, or it just might just be a thing with him that's always there. Yeah. And that was the kind of the thing I was worried about when they drafted him, but we'll see what happens. It's fascinating
to me. I mean, I know that obviously my football ranges to high school level, so I'm now pro, but like it's so interesting like how a defensive lineman isn't just taught from like birth just to get off. Like that's the whole thing. Yeah. Like that's the one thing they teach you as a kid is just go, man. Like see the ball and go.
It's insane.
So, I don't know.
Literally, whenever I talk to other scouting friends on draft Twitter or just other people I know, that's the first thing that they're like. I don't know who's coached him throughout his life, but I know he's new to football. But it's like whoever was coaching him in his first couple of years, like was doing it wrong because of the first thing you coach.
That's the thing you do. Watch the ball. Go.
I mean, at the very least, it does sound like there's improvement there. I think that gives me optimism that this is something that you can just. This is something that they can coach out of him, and I think that's why they picked him. I don't think they took him thinking he was a finished product. I think they took him. They're like, look, he's this freak athlete. He's laid off the snap, but they think they can coach that out of him. And you know what? Let's see it. I'm fine with it. So
yeah, absolutely. He's been impressive so far. I'd say he's definitely. It's not always there, but when he flashes, it's impressive. Speaking of rookies, I should probably talk about Darnell Wright because he was a little bit of a hot topic conversation the first couple of days of practice because the first day of practice on Tuesday, I specifically wanted to make sure to pay attention to how he was doing because all the talk leading up to the pads going on was that you cannot evaluate offensive linemen when there's no pads on in practice. Well, I'm like, okay, well, now we get the pads on. Let's see where the rookie's at. Tuesday was a brutal practice for him, to put it lightly. There's a 2-minute drill in practice where Travis Gibson beat him like multiple times, and not just like, it was kind of like a neutral snap where both guys were going after it, and Travis Gibson kind of won late. But no, Gibson was smoking him off the snap, and it's like Wright didn't have an answer for it a couple times. Would have gone for sacks if there was an actual game. But with that said, Wednesday I thought he looks much better. Wright did, and he had a bounce back day on Wednesday. So I wonder if it's just like pads on for the first time. You have a rookie adjusting to the intensity of the NFL, and he kind of took his lumps the first day, but the second day of pads, he looked a lot better. He wasn't getting beat too much often on the second day. So ups and downs of being a rookie, I guess you could say.
Just had his welcome to the NFL moment.
In your first training camp, day one with pads, like
you can excuse that.
Right. But that's the important thing is that you're seeing improvement. You're seeing the work ethic. Look, again, Bears fans, I want to see us go 17-02, but like if you're expecting that, you really gotta temper that a bit.
I'm not tempering that.
I think 8-9, 9-8. I think that's a fair
Yeah, it's gonna be a little rough. I hope we beat the Packers week 1. That's all I care about. But after
I'll
that,
be despondent if they don't, because the Packers just had their family fest, and they did a live stream of it on whatever local news channel is there in Green Bay. And apparently Jordan Love was so bad that they just cut the feed.
I heard about that. But I didn't know if that was
I
true.
did not hear about that.
Yeah, that was
I did read
funny.
a whole thread. Shout out to Bleacher Nation. If you're a Chicago sports fan and want like some really good blog posts and everything, the Bleacher Nation's awesome. They have Cubs, Blackhawks, Sox, Bulls, and Bears. They did they got a Sox one. I think.
I didn't know that.
I thought they did. I thought they heard a Sox.
I thought the whole thing was they were a Cubs thing. I didn't think they had a Sox.
They started as a Cubs thing, but then they've been branching out. Anyway, very similar to us. They don't do podcasting. They do blog posts. Yeah. And I can't
Brett,
remember.
the main guy, does Cubs podcast on The Athletic, but
Oh, Brett does?
Yeah, on New England. It's a good podcast. He does it with Sahadev Sharma and Pat Mooney.
So check that out when you're not listening to us. But anyway, I read a blog post. I can't remember who it is that does their Bears coverage, but they had one about the Jordan Love situation. And he was saying how interesting it was. Like, Bears fans are notorious for getting super hyped up based on training camp footage and practices and stuff like that, especially when it comes to quarterback play. And the Packers have not had to worry about that since before any of us have been alive, because they got 2 back-to-back Hall of Famers in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And Jordan Love is not appearing to be another Hall of Famer. And so he's like, it's really interesting seeing how these
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Don't say that, dude. Don't say that. They were very concerned about Rodgers when he came, and then look at what that happened.
Listen,
So
it's not Jordan Love that I'm scared of. It's Jordan Love being so bad that they finish the year with the worst record in football and end up with Caleb Williams. I want him to go 6-10. I want him to go 6-10, end up with like a middle first-round pick.
The best case scenario for the Bears is that Jordan Love is Kirk Cousins.
Oh, that's good.
That's fair.
Just good enough to where the Packers can't give up on him, but not good enough to have the Packers ever be in contention because he's just average or aggressively average. I haven't been too plugged into the Packers training camp. It sounds like offense in general is just rough. I think Domofsky, who works for ESPN, he covers Packers for them. He had a quote where he's like, "Love has had one really great day, one okay day, and a lot of days where you think to yourself, man, it's going to be a long year." And I wonder if that's just the entire state of the offense around Love as well, because it sounds like the defense has mostly just been winning the day early in camp for the Packers. So read that into
and if you don't know who that Packers reporter is, he is the biggest homer. So even if once you've lost him, like,
I wouldn't say he's the biggest.
It's bad. He's a pretty big homer.
I don't know.
Or am I mixing him up?
No, you're thinking of Bukowski.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah. If Bukowski's saying it, then
he's even said it too. He's even had tweets where it's just like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah. But anyway,
I think we should. We're turning into a Packers hate podcast.
Yeah, I was going to bring it back to my last.
Isn't every Bears podcast a Packers hate podcast?
Yeah. I got a couple last points for the couple practices I got. Then we can move on to some other stuff. Yeah. Justin Fields continues to look pretty solid in my opinion. He's had, the offense did have a couple rough days that I was there, and or at least I wouldn't say rough days, but like definitely days where the defense won out. Especially Wednesday, I actually had a tweet go viral for this. The defense got so fired up in 1-11-11 drill that they were just talking mad crap to the offense the entire time. It got so bad that Jaquan Brisker goes up into Luke Getsy's face, the offensive coordinator for the Bears, and says, I'm quoting this here as closely and family friendly that I can. But basically, I tweeted this out, but he said, stop playing with me. call something different because they just kept on. They couldn't complete a pass. It was so bad.
Andrew, this is why you don't burn the one F-bomb we have 10 minutes into the show.
Hey, there were other reasons in leaving. Okay, so I don't think the one F-bomb would be enough for that.
So I think I'm going to cut you off here. You might have to try resetting your internet again. We'll talk about some of the signings that have happened here real quick to give Andrew a chance to come back.
Yeah.
So quick transition here. The Bears finally, thank heavens, got our edge in Yannick Ngakoue.
Yannick Ngakoue.
It's not Yannick. It is Yannick. I saw it is Yannick. I saw somebody.
Okay, yes, let's go.
Whatever.
Great.
Anyway, so we got our edge rusher. He's here on a 1 year, $10.5 million deal, which, as far as the average salary for other free agent edge rushers goes, that was the ceiling. But I'm okay. This guy had 8.5 sacks on his own last year. Our defensive line as a whole last year had 6.5 sacks. So this guy can literally single-handedly double our sack totals, and I am so okay with it. Before you guys react, because I know we have kind of a reaction segment coming up, I'm just going to run through the other one real quick. Marcedes Lewis, the former Packer tight end, was also signed to a 1 year deal. Excellent run blocker. He's 37. He's not there to be running down the field and making big time plays. He does have, in my opinion, some decent pass catching ability, but again, he's 37. It's not like he's got a ton of speed to get down the field. Just a solid signing, in my opinion, and that means we got not one, but both of the Packers tight ends from last year. So, plus the extension of Cole Kmet. So our tight end room is very solid. Our wide receiver room is very solid. I think our running back room is very solid. I'm excited for this offense. Looks like Andrew is going to have to do some work here. So I'll ask the question that we have in the outline here. How would you guys grade Ryan Poles offseason overall?
It's funny because I saw that on Twitter too the other day, and I was kind of like, I don't know how to grade. I guess I'd give it like a B. I don't know, man. Like, I'm excited for it. I think he's done well. I think he's done really well. I think I'm just trying to be critical for the sake of being like
trying to measure expectations a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of like, I thought it was good. I really do. I think he was solid for what he has, for what he's working with. For what that team roster was. I mean, God, like
what team roster?
Yeah, exactly. like I mean,
we had a minor league football team last year.
Compare the roster to when he took over. Compare the roster to the beginning of last season. Oh my gosh, this team is at least going to be exciting, and we're going to see a lot of strides, hopefully. And I think he's. I mean, gosh, I would love to see another edge rusher. The linebacker core has been great. I mean, that's obviously getting solid again. The DBs are getting solid. Offensive line could use some. So, yeah, I really think it's just the lines again. And I know that Poles, like, that's the one thing that the man cares about as a former offensive lineman. So, I think we give it another year and we'll be good to go. So I'll give him B+. Why not?
I give him an A. He got DJ Moore and Darnell Wright. That's basically
true.
You got the right tackle of the future. You got your true number one wide receiver. Like, DJ Moore is a really impressive one to me because, who else were you going to get in not in the draft? This wasn't a deep wide receiver draft. This was a terrible free agency class. There weren't many others. We didn't even think DJ Moore would be available, and we got him.
It's true.
I like some of the other signings. It's not an A+. I do like Yannick Ngakoue on a 1 year deal. Jordan, you mentioned the money. It's a lot of money, but it's a 1 year deal. I don't care that he's paying a lot of money on a 1 year deal. It's not going to matter. We still have a ton of cap space.
He also had to do it just to get the spending floor.
Yeah, that's also true.
Exactly. I was going to say, did you have more you want to say? I don't want to step on your toes.
No, but I think we all saw the same.
Yeah, no, that was it. On Yannick Ngakoue, yeah, great pass rusher, but his run defense is not great. That's been the one big knock on him. It's the reason he's been a free agent for this long. But you know what? He's instantly the best. He's instantly our best pass rusher, and the Bears need help on the line. Marcedes Lewis, he's yes, he's 37, but he's still a really great blocking tight end. I remember in 2018, Packers fans were like, "Oh well, the Bears got Khalil Mack. Whatever, Marcedes Lewis can block him." Marcedes Lewis could not block Khalil Mack, but he's a very good blocking tight end. He essentially helps the offensive line. He's not there to catch passes. So I like the signing as well. But yeah, I give Poles an A.
I'm on Team Nick here. I'm not going to measure my expectations. I'm excited. You guys haven't been able to tell from the last couple weeks.
Oh yeah, I'm excited too.
I'd give Poles a solid A. I mean, seriously, our defense was, we had a few bright spots last year, but overall I'd consider it lackluster. You go out, you sign TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds, I have been hearing nothing but excellent things. So can kind of like a Lance Briggs, I think, based on what I was hearing, that would be my comparison. Outside linebacker that can fly from sideline to sideline, break up big plays, and do some okay pass coverage. Getting Ngakoue, finally have an edge rusher. The draft, I think, was awesome. What's his name? It's not Tyson. The wide receiver.
Tyler Scott.
Thank you. Randy Moss. I saw a quote attributed to Randy Moss today on Twitter.
I thought for a second you were going to compare him to Randy Moss. I was like, hold the phone.
No.
I'm excited too, but hold the phone.
No, Randy, it's a tweet attributed to Randy Moss. And again, it's Twitter. So, maybe somebody like AI did or whatever. But Randy Moss, quote attributed to him, said that Tyler Scott is going to be the best wide receiver in the draft class and that all general managers are going to be upset that they passed on him. I know Andrew's making a face right now, but I'm not saying that I'm on board with that.
That quote was for a different wide receiver. So this is why I already don't trust you, because I thought that I saw the same thing, but for a different guy.
We're in training camp, man. Everybody thinks their wide receiver is going to be the steal of the draft. I'm excited for him too, but pump the brakes.
No, I'm just saying there's excitement outside of us from people that have been in the league. Again, I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Randy Moss. I'm not saying he's going to have this astonishing career, but I have heard a few good reports out of training camp, and he's getting national media attention. That's the point I'm trying to make here. We've shored up a lot of holes on the offense. Like I said, I mean, you got Robert Tonyan, Marcedes Lewis, and Cole Kmet as your tight end room. I'd consider that at least a B tight end room. Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, and DJ Moore, who, to Nick's point, again, we didn't even know DJ Moore was going to be available, let alone on our freaking team. I'd consider that a B plus borderline A minus wide receivers room. Khalil Herbert's a great running back. We shored up that position as well. I mean, there is a lot to look forward to. I know the lines are still a little bit of a question mark, but overall, Justin Fields finally has weapons, and we have a team that might actually have an offense that can move the ball downfield for the first time.
To prove to my point, Jordan, I see the quote you're talking about, and then literally above that is talking about Andre Iosivas is reportedly thought to be the best young receiver done in the NFL draft in the past 15 years by Randy Moss. So that quote that you saw was probably not real. So thanks for going on about that for 5 minutes.
Yeah. This is why you don't go on for 5 minutes about a random quote you saw on Twitter that you don't know is real.
It wouldn't have taken 5 minutes if you guys wouldn't have kept butting in.
We kept butting in because it was wrong. It was fake. That's why I kept butting in. I'm trying to get you to shut up.
Anyway,
that's what
all right,
the private
whatever.
chat is for.
Andrew, if your Wi-Fi is working, give us your grade for Ryan Poles this offseason.
My grade for Ryan Poles?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd probably say an A minus.
Let's go.
Okay, so I guess I'm the asshole.
I think
you are.
I think he's done a really good job.
We've known this. It's not just right now.
There are a couple things I probably would have done a little differently. I think he maybe could have done a little bit more to address the edge rusher room. There's a couple things in the draft I probably would have done differently at a couple points, but yeah, overall, he's done a really good job. Like the DJ Moore trade alone has been a game changer for them, really has. And I still think that I still question some things on the offensive line, like whether they did enough to address that unit I think it's set up pretty well, but I don't know. It's not a complete roster at the moment, which it was never going to be a 1-year fix anyway. But yeah, I think he's done a really nice job this offseason. I don't really have any huge complaints for what he's done.
All right. Well, now that we have you back and have the season grades out of the way, what other points did you want to make about training camp? I have one question. I'm going to see if you get to it, but
yeah, Claypool has been really good in training.
Oh no!
Here we
Andrew, we're to losing you, buddy.
I even moved spots closer to my Wi-Fi.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, he said I heard Claypool out of there, so I think he wants to talk about Claypool. I've seen reports that he's been doing really. He's been good. Yeah. So that's exciting.
He had one play one day I was there. He's been crackback block, and he just destroyed defensive end and got him all hyped up. So yeah, he looks fast. He looks physical. He looks really good.
Are crackbacks even allowed at this point? Like I know in high school they're banned.
He did it, so yeah. I might have to eat him too. He's looked really good.
That's
I didn't think it would be saying, but
that always gets me excited. Notre Dame.
It's a contract year for him, so it's probably what the motivation is, probably, right? So
there's going to be nothing that would make me happier this season than Chase Claypool just blowing up, because that'd be a lot of Bears Twitter eating a whole lot of crow.
Yeah.
And I have never been down. I will come out right now. I have never been down on Chase Claypool. I have held out hope. I have not been a detractor.
Yeah, I've had a. I mean, last year was just kind of bad all around.
Last year wasn't good, but I also kind of accepted that this move wasn't about last year and what he was going to do last year. You'd have hoped to have seen a little bit more than what you got last year, but it was always about this year. It was always about building that extra chemistry with Fields, and giving him a weapon for 2023, not just 2022. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and of course, I'm sure Andrew has concerns, but we can move on. It's just the big thing is that pick ended up being basically the 32nd pick, so that's why everybody kind of lost their mind.
Yeah, but you also have to remember when Ryan Poles traded that pick, the Bears were 3-5. I don't think he expected that they were going to lose the next 10 games in a row.
Yeah,
like he probably expected that pick to be high 30s, like low 40s, which that might still be an overpayment, sure, but it's not. He didn't give up. He didn't think he was giving up what he ended up giving up. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The whole reason why he's not Packer is because they thought we were going to do worse. So,
exactly. Yeah. Which, I mean, good on the Steelers. They were right.
Yeah. Yep, they were right. Did you guys talk about Yannick Ngakoue while I was having technical issues? Okay,
Yannick,
I'll do my quick thing on Yannick Ngakoue, and then we can move on, I guess, because we talked a lot of Bears. Yeah. Ngakoue, really good pass rusher, one of the worst run defenders in the league, and I don't think that's going to change playing for the Bears. He's really good at one thing, and that's put him in a wide 9 and let him rush the passer on passing downs, and he can do nothing else. So on a 1-year deal,
I love it. That's my edge, baby.
I made a point while you were gone. I think I can never keep these two straight, and I won't be able to until the season starts. Either Edmonds or Edwards. One of them I know has been flying sideline to sideline and making really good plays. Like specifically getting called. I think it's whichever one played on the Bills.
Edmonds.
Edmonds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Edwards is definitely not an athlete.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. I don't know if he plays on the same side. You were at camp. You'd know how they're going to be setting it up. But if he's playing on the same side as Ngakoue for the most part, I don't see not being able to run defend as a problem.
Well,
because if you have that much of a
yeah, Edmonds is the Mike, so he's just going to be in the middle of it all.
Got it.
I don't know what their plan is with Ngakoue. They might just use him as a situational pass rusher. I would think. I think they'd be really. I think their defensive coaching stuff would be not as smart as they think they are if they're playing Ngakoue on running downs. To be honest with you, because he's that bad at it. Like it's just
okay.
It's embarrassing to watch. Really,
The beauty though, Andrew, is that Every down could be a running down if you play with triple option.
That's true. That is fair.
Oh God! For those of you that don't know, Teige did a whole 180 segment on how much he loves the triple option. I believe it was last week. So if you want to see that, go check it out. It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, just go to the end of the episode.
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to see
Teige
talk about how much he loves the triple option, go check out our video from 2 weeks ago and skip to the end. Do we have any more stuff we want to cover about the Bears?
No, we're 40 minutes in. Let's
hopefully next week we'll have the first preseason game to talk about. So that's the most important thing.
I'm excited about that.
The Bears taking on the Titans. All right. I see nothing listed for Hawks or Bulls.
No, nothing happened.
Okay, cool. Finally, we get to bring our SWFU segment to light. We did mess some stuff up. As Nick mentioned, he was at the game on, what'd you say, Thursday against the Braves?
Yeah.
Or
Thursday,
against the Reds, excuse me. And one of our friends, shout out Parker, avid listener, we love you, thank you, pointed something out to Nick while they were at the game. So, Nick, I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, Parker told us that we said Jamer Candelario, we traded him. We said that we traded him in 2016 when we actually traded him in 2017. I didn't go back to listening. He said he was pretty sure that we said 2016 and not 2017.
We did. I remembered it once you sent it to the chat.
Okay. I said I would just take his word for it. So I trust him. That is how much we love you, Parker. I'm just going to take your word for it. But yeah.
Love you big time, Parker. The next one it wasn't really a mess up, but it was funny. So I wanted to include it. And actually I did mess up. I, for some reason, thought Teige said Minardi F1 last week, but Teige had mentioned that him and his dad were kind of like adjacent fans of a Formula One team because they had an Irish affiliation. And then I was like, wait a minute. Actually, I'm on F1 TikTok. I'm going to be honest. And they were doing an interview with Eddie Jordan. And I'm like, he has an Irish accent. I'm pretty sure Teige meant Jordan F1, which, like, how would I not remember that? Because that's literally my name. But yeah, so the F1 team was Jordan Grand Prix that Teige was watching with his dad, and they helped give Michael Schumacher his start. So I really don't know how I forgot that one. But
yeah, I couldn't remember the name. I just knew that they like I said, my dad and I have always been big Ferrari stands, Michael Schumacher stands when I was a little kid. But like at the same time, we're also rooting for that little Irish guy. And like they would always either blow out or like come in dead last. Like it was awful. So then we're just like, go Ferrari.
They definitely took a downturn, but like Jordan actually was a solid F1 team in the early 90s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I wasn't alive for that. So it's
Rubens Barrichello was on there as well. If any of you are F1 fans, it's probably not, because
then he also went to Ferrari.
Cars. But anyway, so that's our SWFU. If you catch anything else that we messed up, please feel free to either comment on our YouTube or send us I don't know if you can comment on Spotify or anything, but I think our email's on there. So send us an email. We will move on now to our 4 stars of the week. Give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry, had to send a message real quick.
We always forget to do the order.
We always forget to assign who we're talking about. So I guess, okay.
All right. I'll do the first one. So our first star is old Cub, but new Cub again, Jamer Candelario. In his first 2 games back with the Cubs after the trade, he went 8 for 9. So he had 9 official plate appearances and he had 8 hits, which is really good. Over the last 6 games, he is batting .550. He's already hit his first home run back with the Cubs. I think he hit 1 in the few games when he was initially called up in 2016. So it's his second career homer with the Cubs, but he's just hitting the ball really well. So welcome back, Jamer. Happy to have you.
Please sign an extension. Signed everybody in Chicago. Moving on. Excuse me. Next, who wants to? Oh, Andrew, you're next.
Yeah, our next star of the week is Dansby Swanson, who since last Monday, these are his batting splits going on. He's got 280 batting average, 357 on base percentage, and 960 slugging percentage.
Yep.
Right? That goes all for a 1.317 OPS. So he's been killing it out there. 5 home runs, 11 RBI in the last week or so. Just crazy production going on. And he's just been a big part of the offense explosion that the Cubs have had.
And a note on that, his actually no, never mind. Yeah.
You're good.
Don't want to go ahead, Doug.
It's funny how I know has like his meme name is Lieutenant Dan, obviously because it's just so easy, but like he is the captain of this team and the soldier of me. It's like you can't mess up ranks like that. But no, like he is the cat. Like I mean, it's his first year already. He is just heart and soul of the team, and it's like obviously a lot of these guys are heart and soul because they play hard, and I love it. But man, this dude has stepped into the leadership role flawlessly, and I've said it in group chats, I'll say it here, I am so sorry I wanted to like Correa or Trey Turner over Dansby because like even if Trey, I expect like Trey Turner to have a bounce back year next year, like he's just too good not to, but like I don't know, man, just the way Dansby plays with these guys and this defense, oh goodness.
I will say one thing I liked today that I saw. I think he struck out twice, and the second time he was furious with himself because there were runners on the corners with 2 outs. Like chucked his bat on the ground, took his helmet, whipped it on the ground, like whipped his elbow pad on the ground. Like I like seeing that kind of fire and passion from somebody, and it shows that he's invested in the game.
Yeah, he's a World Series winner and he wants more, and I hope we give him more.
We better. I'm not going to be happy. All right. Moving on to our next star of the week. And this is 2 weeks in a row. And both times it's me that we're going to give it to somebody that doesn't play for a Chicago team. And I'm sorry I'm laughing already, but this is just too good. Jose Ramirez. Down goes Anderson.
Down goes Anderson.
Goes Anderson. We're going to give a sub-star of the week to, I'm assuming, whoever the Guardians broadcaster is for mimicking the down goes Frazier call. Because oh my God, just perfect. But I mean, so backstory, Tim Anderson got knocked the hell out in a fight with Jose Ramirez. There was some chirping going back and forth. I guess J-Ram has thought in the past that Timmy likes to tag a little bit hard unnecessarily. And so I wasn't really happy with him. And he slid headfirst into second base and right in between Timmy's legs. And another hard tag right in his face. And so J-Ram got up and said something about it. And immediately, Tim Anderson, like a hockey player, chucks his mitt on the ground and just gets in a stance like this. And so I think it was 1 punch from Timmy, 1 punch from J-Ram, 1 punch from Timmy, and then just a no-look right hook to the chin of Tim Anderson, and it crumpled him. And he had to get helped off the field. So for an all-time baseball, like true baseball fight, which personally I don't think
they're pretty rare
in the world anymore. I kind of miss them. But for a true all-time baseball fight moment, Jose Ramirez, this Chicago star goes to you, my Cleveland Guardian Angel.
I love Jose Ramirez. It's a bold strategy getting in a fight with a guy who like grew up having like, if you've never heard the story before, because I've seen it a couple times, like he grew up in the Dominican Republic and like grown men would gamble on the games they'd play in with other grown men, and like they would threaten him and his family if he didn't perform. Like that's a bold strategy to want to fight that guy. So
and also I don't know if you're going to touch on it in your 180, but the suspensions came out today. Tim Anderson got 6 games. Jose Ramirez got 3. So he lost. He got knocked out. He became a national laughingstock, and he got suspended twice as many games. Also, I don't know if you saw.
Well, he instigated. In the league's defense, Tim 100% instigated that fight, in my opinion, and I think that's why he got double the suspension.
Well, I think it should be a rule that if you lose the fight, you lose more games. Also, during this kerfuffle, Eloy Jimenez got hurt.
Yes,
which is expected.
Typical Sox. All right, Nick, you want to take the last one away before we start getting to our 180s?
No, I'm not going to.
Oh, sorry, Ty. My bad.
Last star of the week goes to Adbert Alzolay. I am a big fan of Adbert. I was a big fan when he came up, and he really struggled as a starter. I think the Cubs didn't really know what to do with him. Up and down, he went starting, long relief, maybe closing out a game, whatever. But now he seems to be the closer. He's relished in the role, and I'm just so happy to see him finally like turn around. His analytics are great; they're all in the red. And he had 2 saves this week, which is good. He had 2 saves this week. I'm Baseball Savant. Sorry, I should reference that. He had 2 saves this week against the Reds and the Braves. He had 1 game where he came in against the Braves with a 4-run lead, so that's not a save qualifier. It's a dump stat anyways. But he gave up a 2-run shot to Olsen and then closed out the game. So again, he takes one on the chin from Matt Olson and still finishes the game strong. I'm so glad to see him have this turnaround. I was a huge fan of his. Like even when he was struggling, I was like, he's so close to figuring out, because I saw immediately when he came up that he could have been a good pitcher. And if he needs that pressure to just be one of the best pitchers in the league, go for it, man. Like, I hope he's our closer for a while. So Edward Aslai, the star goes out to you.
Teige, I have a 180 idea I'm going to propose to you, and you can totally feel free to say no and that I'm dumb. But if you ever want to do a breakdown on what stats you like and why, and what stats you hate and why, or what stats you would create and why, I think.
Yeah, I've thought about that for a lot of blog ideas. That's basically what I was going to try to make. Because there's a couple stats I really hate, but like it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, it's also, I don't know, like whatever. And then like creating stats is hard because like people that do create stats are so much better at it than me. They're so much more creative. Like their stats are creative. They're smart. I had one idea for a stat.
Well, they're usually math people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I try to like have like a amateur math knowledge. Like I try to like watch YouTube videos, like practice on my own, but that they're like all stats. Anyways, like literally for my last blog post after the war thing, I was going to do a save replacement stat. And I did all this research. I was going to try to figure out how to make my own. And then midway through my research, I found out that there was a save replacement stat already on Fangraphs. And I was like, all right, never mind. So that's kind of my point, is like.
We'll make a better one.
Did you guys ever play golf on the Wii? And like when you'd have a putt, and it'd be like,
yeah, exactly. Like I started off the whole, like I had 2 pages written down. I was doing all this research, and I was like, all right, never mind. I guess I'll move to Texas now. Thanks.
Oh my god. Sidebar. Love having this podcast with you guys. It's fun. Anyway, moving on. We'll get to our 180s here. Andrew, I think, is going to piss a lot of Chicagoans off here with his, You know what? The floor is yours. I'll let you take it away, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So if you're like me and you just hate the current state of the Bulls, yeah, you get caught up in watching. At least in my case, watching a lot of looking for nostalgia for the Bulls. And what I've been doing recently, just for whatever reason, I just get bored at night and was like, hey, I'll just throw in a random '90s Bulls game and just get some nostalgia. Even though I didn't grow up watching them, it's just like, you want to watch the Bulls when they're at their best, and the '90s were when the Bulls are at this. We really haven't had anything besides the Rose years that have made us really happy as Bulls fans. So I've been watching a lot of them, and it got me thinking that, like, okay, how does this team actually stack up to what we see to the modern teams today, like all time and stuff like that? And it's been the thing for many Chicago sports fans that the '96 Bulls are the greatest team of all time. It's kind of been, it's like Michael Jordan for the GOAT debate. It's like, that's a non-debatable point. If you try arguing with us Chicago fans on that, we're willing to fight you on that. I'm here to say it, guys. The '96 Bulls, I hate to break to you, we're not, I can't go with that argument anymore. We're not the greatest team of all time, unfortunately.
Boo this man.
I know. And there's one team specifically that gets the edge, and that's the 2017 Warriors, guys. Let me just break it down here for you guys. For one, the Warriors, the 2017 Warriors, they just simply got more star power. Like, yeah, I know you got Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan's the GOAT, obviously, and Scottie Pippen was at the, in the prime of his career. But, for the Warriors, not only do you have Stephen Curry at his peak, the top 10 player all time, Kevin Durant at his peak, top 15 player all time, but Draymond Green, maybe the best defensive player of his era, he was at the peak of his powers. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year that year. He was getting like 8 assists a game that year or something like that, something crazy. So he was actually a good 3-point shooter that season. So you get peak Draymond, and you get Klay Thompson, who is maybe like the best 3-and-D guy of the 21st century. Like, he's one of the top 5 greatest shooters ever, and he can lock down 1 through 3. on the other side of the ball. You compare that to the Bulls, like Michael Jordan's the GOAT, but this isn't like peak MJ we're talking about here. It's worth noting that MJ at this stage of his career was not the same guy that was dominating the league in the early 90s in that first three-peat. Like in the finals, for instance, like you look at the 96 finals, Jordan shot like 41% from the field in that final series. He only averaged like 26 points per game in that final series. And no, he was going to go to Supersonics that year. Not exactly an all-time great team that season. I know the Bulls won that series, obviously, so no one remembers that fact. But like you look at the roster stacked up against each other, the Warriors just have a more talented roster, in my opinion, in terms of star talent. Like Dennis Rodman, everyone's going to throw like, oh, but what about Dennis Rodman? What about Tony Kukoc? I'm like, what about him? Like Dennis Rodman, yeah, he's a great rebounder. He gives you nothing on offense. He's a good defender, great defender actually. But I just think Draymond's better than him. And then off the bench, like Kukoc, like here's the thing about Kukoc. I think the idea of Kukoc is a lot better than what Kukoc actually was for the Bulls during that time period. Like you look at Kukoc during those late 90s runs, like he had some rough stretches during those playoff runs for the Bulls. And you compare him to like Andre Iguodala for the Warriors, like it's not even close as the sixth man coming off the bench for you. Like Iguodala was one of the best perimeter defenders of all time while giving you good offense as well. So from a talent perspective, I just think, the Warriors unfortunately just stack up a little bit better than that 96 Bulls team. And then here's the bigger point here. And I hate all the current NBA fans to crap on Jordan's era, that 90s era for being a weak era. I don't think you can say that for the early 90s. I think the early 90s was a very strong point in the NBA. I cannot say the same for the late 90s, starting in like 95-ish, because by that point, the NBA, and people forget about this, that was like the first year that they had fully expanded with the Toronto Raptors, Minnesota Timberwolves. They expanded with the Miami Heat, Orlando Magic, some other teams earlier on in the decade. So expansion had completely diluted the talent in the NBA by that time. And here's the other thing. A lot of these stars in Jordan's generation, Jordan came in with a great generation of stars where you have guys like Clyde Drexler entering the league, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, David Robinson, Reggie Miller. I can go on and on. There were a lot of great stars that came into the league with Jordan. But here's the thing, the late 80s, early 90s, you had some really rough drafts in terms of superstar talent entering the league. So by the time you get to 96, a lot of those stars like Barkley, Olajuwon and stuff, they were past their prime, if not like they were on the downside of their prime, if not past their prime. All right. And a lot of those stars in the late 80s, early 90s entering the league were not at that same level. So it was a lot easier for a guy like Jordan to go in there and dominate the league right that. You compare that to the 2017 Warriors, like who they had to beat on their way to the finals and whatnot. And in the finals, like people forget, like if it weren't for the 2017 Warriors, we might talk about the 2017 Cavaliers as a great all-time great team too, because LeBron was on a tear. You have Kyrie Irving. That offense was one of the best in NBA history. So I don't know. I hate to say it as a Bulls fan, but it breaks my heart to say it too, but I cannot give the title of best team all time to the 96 Bulls. I hate to break it to you, fellas.
Counterpoint, I can't give the title of best team all time to a team that blew a 3-1 lead in the finals.
Oh,
that wasn't the same team, though. That wasn't the same team. They didn't have Kevin Durant.
I can't give it. No, I don't care. No.
Okay, put it this way. You have a team that won 73 games in the regular season, and then they add Kevin Durant to that roster. I can't go there, man. I'm just saying.
All right, well, Jordan, what do you got,
anyway,
buddy?
Moving on. You guys
Talk to
can
us
go
about
now.
the White Sox.
Before Nick uses his X-ray vision through the computer to blow up Andrew's brain. So I want to preface this by saying, White Sox fans, I know I'm wearing a Cubs jersey. I don't hate your team. To be honest with you, before I moved to Wisconsin, which was 3 years before I moved to Arizona, the last baseball game I went to was at, I think it was before it was called Guaranteed Rate Field, which is a stupid name, stupid baseball park name. U.S. Cellular was much better. But anyway, I digress. I made sure I went and saw a White Sox game. And granted, you guys did suck. The tickets we've picked up, me and my friend, shout out Ryan Jones. I don't know if you listen, but shout out to Ryan. We picked up tickets on the way to the game, 3 rows off the third baseline for $15 a piece. It's a beautiful ballpark. You guys have a great ballpark. Unfortunately, your team is in shambles. I know we already talked about Tim Anderson getting knocked the hell out by Jose Ramirez and suffering a 6-game suspension because of it, but there is a lot more going on here. I don't know if Tim Anderson had some lingering effects from being knocked out, but he decided to hop on Twitter and just have a meltdown. Over the course of 6 hours, there were tweets about how everybody's kicking him when he's down and just all these cliched pro athlete who's on a downward spiral tweets just going out. If you want to check it out, check out his Twitter. It's kind of depressing. In addition to this, there was a report today that came out that Tim Anderson and Yasmani Grandal had a fight earlier in the year. The quote, this is on Talkin' Baseball, which is run by, it's the podcast that John Boy does. Shout out, John Boy. You're awesome. We love you. So this is the tweet. Yasmani Grandal wanted to leave the day before the All-Star break because he wasn't in the lineup. And Tim Anderson said, as paraphrased, fuck him. If he doesn't want to be here, I'll pay for his flight. And at the time, Tim Anderson was in the ice bath, and Yasmani Grandal walked up and bitch slapped him across the face. You can't make this stuff up, folks. On top of that, Kenyon Middleton, who just got traded, I believe, to the Dodgers. No, not the Dodgers. Sorry. I forget where he got traded, but he got traded. Yankees. That's what it is. Has gone on record and said that rookies are sleeping during games. Pitchers are missing their fielding practices. There is no accountability at all whatsoever in the clubhouse. None of these people are being punished for any of these things. And then Lance Lynn, who is a regular on the Foul Play podcast. I don't know why I'm blanking because I watch it here and there. But it's the one with AJ Przinsky and I'm really blanking. AJ Przinsky's in it. Lance Lynn is a regular on that podcast. And I watched the video and AJ's like, so Lance, can you say anything about what Kenyon Middleton's saying? And Lance Lynn's like, I can tell you about what isn't true. And then there's silence for about 10 or 15 seconds. And AJ's like, oh, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So Lance Lynn is backing up everything, that this whole organization is in shambles. And then there was another report that came out that an hour before the game, Rick Hahn and Pedro Grifol were having a meeting. I haven't heard any reports on what might have happened, but Rick Hahn is taking accountability for what's going on. And this team is falling apart, man. For somebody who started the year saying, oh, we're going to be contenders, to be in last place and having just clubhouse cancer running amok. I mean, it's depressing. Sox fans, I really do feel for you. I'm sorry. I do root for you guys as long as you're not playing the Cubs. I'm just a Chicago supporter, but you guys got to figure something out. This is just absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, you basically got to burn it down and start from scratch. Jerry's got to sell the team. Rick Hahn's got to get fired. Pedro Grifol, who started the year by saying, we're going to play with intensity and we're going to play to inspire confidence in the fan base. And we're going to be a good team. Like, dude, you're not running your team at all. If you're letting rookies sleep during the game, I'm sorry. We're going to be pushing the PG-13 limit here, but it's bullshit. That is not how you run a baseball team. So
yeah, we're
are
past that point.
Yeah, no, you get one. We've only said one. But anyway.
Andrew said his and then you said yours. You literally, when
that
you're
was a
quoting
quote. It was a quote.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
The powers that Google really care.
Anyway, so anybody who wants to just check out what's going on with the White Sox right now, it is a giant joke. And Sox fans, I'm sorry.
If I may add one thing, there seems to be a correlation between Jerry Reinsdorf owned teams and there being contending teams that have behind-the-scenes drama that end up falling apart because of said behind-the-scenes drama. Just throwing it out there.
I think we almost what are we, week 16 here? It took until an hour into the episode, so I thought we might have made it. But Andrew is keeping up the streak of shitting on Jerry Reinsdorf.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
You're not. I'm not saying you are. I just thought we were going to make it one episode without shit talking Jerry Reinsdorf. you specifically, but we didn't, and it's fine. I think it's hilarious. It's
And
just
that's okay.
Buck starts
And
at the
that's-
top, right?
True. All right. Teige.
Let's move on. Yes. Okay. So I want to talk today. Initially, I was going to criticize Andrew's poor taste in Christopher Nolan films, but then I got thinking about other filmmakers I love. You know, rather than reacting, how about I expand it? Because all of us love movies, especially Andrew and I. Like, we're amateur cinephiles. So none comes to the mind more than like guys like, you know, of course, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino are up there, Christopher Nolan, but especially for me, Stanley Kubrick. I mean, of course, for everybody, right? So then I thought about talking about a Doctor Strangelove or some other must-watch Kubrick film. And then I thought maybe I'd rip into Barry Lyndon, which is by far one of like his most boring films ever. Like, I'm sorry, Stanley, but that movie was not it, buddy. I know you're up there somewhere, you know, whatever. Fine. And then, so like, seriously, if you're a diehard Stanley Kubrick fan, you've never seen Barry Lyndon, go ahead and watch it. Just say you watched it. But if you're not, get a drinking game ready and try not to fall asleep. That's all I can warn you for. But there's one thing that I thought to myself that I really want to get off my chest today about Stanley Kubrick movies. And that's this. You weirdos got to stop calling The Shining the best horror movie ever made. I cannot describe to you because I've seen this so many times. When I like how angry I get when people call it A, either the best horror movie they've ever seen, or B, for the real psychopaths, the best movie they've ever seen. Okay. Now I want to get some stuff out of the way. All right. Number one, it's a classic. Okay. I'm not trying to take away from that. It's still one of the best. Yes, it is a classic horror movie. The cinematography in it is gorgeous. That's Stanley Kubrick. I mean, look, the elevator scene's cool. Jack Nicholson playing Jack Nicholson's great, but let's be real. Okay, the movie, kind of a snore fest. All right, the first time I watched it with a friend. I know I fell asleep. I think she fell asleep longer than I did, and like we were trying to ask each other, like, "Hey, what happened in the movie?" And we were like, "I don't know." Like we fell asleep. I did end up rewatching it multiple times, but also the casting choice, dicey. All right, thank God he got Kubrick Kubrick got Nicholson because he makes the whole film. If Stephen King had his way, he'd have like Jon Voight play it, and I just imagine that movie with Jon Voight and then the rest of that cast. It wouldn't have been good. Okay.
Shout out Angelina Jolie's dad.
Yes, yeah, he wanted like Jon Voight or like a couple of like normal actors. Thank God it was Jack Nicholson instead. Also a note to modern filmmakers. Please stop referencing the damn elevator scene in your movies. I get it. It was cool. It was, you know, he got away with doing it like in the trailer and stuff like that. Like that was a big controversy for the 80s. I get it. But don't stop. Like even in the Barbie movie, they reference The Shining. And I'm like, geez. Like that one at least is a little clever. But like I'm so sick of seeing every single horror movie now reference The Shining in some way. I get it. It was good. You don't need to talk about it anymore. Have some creativity. Live a little. Take risks. Do something else. Okay, I gotta wrap this up for brevity. Obviously, it's a 180. I can go into more detail, but I don't think it's the best movie ever made or the best horror movie ever made. But most people would then ask, okay, Teige, so then what are some better horror movies? So I want to preface this by saying I haven't seen every horror movie. I'm trying to watch more. I love horror movies. I keep trying to go more and more. And there's a lot of subgenre of horror. Not every horror movie is going to be scary with all the different flavors. So I thought I'd give some movies near the top of my did I sleep well that night list. Okay. For example, if you know me, you know I love Alien franchise and John Carpenter's The Thing. Movies like those, they are some of the best horror movies I've ever seen in my life. I love rewatching those movies. I sleep like a baby after watching that. Doesn't really get me going. But here's a list of movies that after I watched them the first time, I did actually have trouble sleeping that night. Number one, The Exorcist. That movie holds up remarkably well. It's still a classic. Even looking at some stills, just to, like do research for all this stuff that I was typing up to like freshen up, I still got creeped out. Like it's a really good movie, and if you haven't seen it, like it actually gave me chills, and it's from the 70s. Number two, movie probably most of you haven't heard of, called Threads. It's an English movie. It's a nuclear Holocaust film. And that movie made it hard for me to sleep for like 2 weeks. That one was really tough for me to watch. Number three, The Conjuring, kind of the cliche modern pick, but in that movie, some kid gets scratched by like the demon, I think, or it's an adult. I think it's a kid. I don't know. Anyways, the next morning after watching that movie, which I couldn't sleep all that night, I had a scratch on my back, and I was like, "Oh my god, the demon's going after me!" And so that movie scarred me for life. Number four, This one probably wouldn't hold up now if I rewatched it as an adult, but I haven't watched it since I was a kid because it's It with Tim Curry. My dad had the brilliant idea of letting 5-year-old Teige Mullen watch that movie. And I haven't been the same since. So I blame all my weirdness.
It explains a lot.
Yeah. I haven't watched that movie, or it's a miniseries, technically. I haven't watched it since. I'm sure if I watched it now, I'd be like, this kind of sucks. But I'm just going to let that like live in my head as one of the scariest things I ever saw rather than ruin it for myself. So that's part one. Part two next week, I'm going to talk about Japanese horror films, why I think that's overrated, especially since I know we have the Japanese crowd from that Shohei video. So
we're just pissing off our target demographic in every way.
So first the Bulls, now this. So anyways, let's move on.
How did the riot start? I don't know. I watched these 4 idiots from the suburbs and they just pissed me off. That's how it started. Anyway, go ahead, Nick.
All right. So this week, okay, for my segment, viewer discretion is advised. Parental discretion, grandparental discretion is advised. I need to discuss Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown. Now, it came out today that he was suspended, and I'm just going to play the clip again. Viewer discretion is advised. This is the clip that got him suspended and taken off the air. All right, if you could give me a thumbs up if you could hear it.
For the Orioles, Brandon Hyde has felt like this has been maybe the toughest ballpark to play in, but the Orioles have a chance to do something special today. They've already clinched at least a split in the series, winning 2 of the first 3, and they can pick up a series win behind Tyler Wells today. It's been a minute. The Orioles split a 2-gamer with the Rays in June. They had lost their last 15 series here at Tropicana Field. You have to go back to when our now colleague Brad Brock picked up the win in the series finale, June 25th, 2017, the last time the Orioles won a series here at St. Pete. Already got 3-2 at the Trop this year after winning 3 of 18 the previous 3 years combined. It is a stark difference, Ben, and it is not a bad Rays team. It's not like all of a sudden the Rays became slouches in the American League East. They've led this division every day, but now 2. And the Orioles, once again, are back alone in first place.
Did you hear it? Did you guys hear it?
How dare he?
How
disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
This man is a disgrace to American broadcasting.
He truly okay. Obviously, we are joking. The first time I listened to this, I literally texted this to the group chat. I'm like, am I having a stroke, or did he just say like nothing offensive at all? No. Well, it turns out the Baltimore Orioles ownership was upset with this segment because they didn't like the idea that, we lost a lot in the past and we don't want to talk about the fact that we lost a lot in the past. You know what makes this even more ridiculous? Like this was a pre-planned segment. They're just talking about, hey, we were bad before, but hey, we're doing really good. We're turning it around. That seems like a perfectly normal thing to do. You know what makes it worse? I'm reading here. That statistic was available in the game notes that was provided by the Baltimore Orioles public relations staff. However, the team's ownership felt mentioning it on air made it sound cheap. So they took Kevin Brown off the air for doing a segment with stats that were provided to him by the Baltimore Orioles because it casted them in the past in a bad light.
You mean to tell me that the team that decided to trade Manny Machado, a generational talent, rather than pay him what he's due.
Okay, well that's
they were never going to pay him.
Yeah, that made sense at the time.
No, I understand, but they're like, we don't want to sound cheap. It's like your actions speak louder than words. You had arguably one of the greatest third basemen of the last generation, and you just decided to off him because you didn't want to pay him. They have been cheap.
Yeah. Well, anyway. That's all I have. I feel for Kevin Brown. I hope I don't know how long his contract is with the Orioles, but I hope he gets out of it soon and goes somewhere else.
Hear me out. Hear me out. He gets fired, and then Boog gets fired, and then we get Kevin Brown.
Yeah, that goes beyond being cheap, though. This is being soft.
Yeah,
soft.
I mean,
yeah,
you've got it. I'm not going to name names here.
I mean, that's worse than Jerry Reinsdorf. That's tough to do, guys.
You
I
got
was going to say there's a certain broadcaster that also got suspended that happened to call a Nick Castellanos home run while he was making an apology, and you're going to suspend a guy in a similar
doing his
manner for
job.
something significantly
Yeah.
less bad than
Not even that.
Not even bad.
I listened to that clip so many times. I was like, did he accidentally like slip out a slur or
and
something?
that's been the reaction on Twitter
I was
too.
like, what?
Everybody's like, "Am I missing something?" Like I watched it 3 times, and
If you take
it's just
if you
ridiculous.
take the first letter of every sentence that he says, does it spell out Mein Kampf? What is this?
If you play it backwards, like Dark Side of the Moon or Abbey Road, you will hear a satanic message. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, the White Album. Yeah, Paul is dead.
Oh, was it the White Album?
It's White Album. That is the big
Got
one
it.
because Revolution 9.
Oh, that's what it. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you play it at double speed backwards, it'll tell you to kill yourself. And
Yeah. No, that's
anyway,
that is
that's a
wild.
shame.
That is
That's a shame.
wild.
yeah, no, it's dumb. It's dumb. I'm done. Let's close the show.
Well, on that note, going to bring the energy level back up a little bit here. Thank you all so much, as always, for watching. Once again, I'm Jordan DuPont, joined by Nick DeCola, Teige Mullen, and Andrew Freeman. Check out the podcast on Twitter at 4StarPodCHI. You can find Nick at MDeCola21, Teige at TMMullen007, and Andrew at AJ Freeman25. Also check out our website the website is just www.4starpodchi.com, where we will have links to our videos, the podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, and our blog posts. And you can check out Andrew's other work, which now that we're actually getting into football season, Andrew, are you still planning on doing your O-line grades this year?
Yep, still planning on doing that, and gonna have quite a bit with. I'm gonna be at training camp tomorrow, by the way, so should have some more notes from practice tomorrow as well.
Definitely check out Andrew's Twitter. Training camp notes, I was checking them out. I caught them really late, so I'm sorry. I'm 2 hours behind everybody else, and I think at probably 2 a.m. your time, you were getting a bunch of notifications that I was liking all of your stuff. But Andrew did some very good in-depth tweeting from training camp, and as football season rolls around, with his work for the Bear Report on 247sports.com, I know he does offensive line grades every week for the Bears players and some other players as well, if I remember correctly. And they're very in-depth. And if you're into the nitty-gritty of football, very, very interesting. So you can also check him out on the Picks for Polls podcast. Don't forget that one either. And until next week, we'll see you again ranting and raving. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe out there. Have a good one.